All right, get ready for this one. We're about to jump into a story that's got it all. Secret meetings, undercover spies, and a massive public showdown between two of the heaviest hitters in history. Seriously, this isn't just some old chapter in a book. This is a high-stakes battle, a fight for the very soul of the gospel message.
So think about it. What happens when friends, really close allies, become public enemies over an idea they both believe is worth fighting for? It's intense. Okay, let's dive in and see exactly how this whole incredible drama unfolds, verse by verse. Okay, so verse 1 kicks off with a massive time jump. Paul tells us he went back to Jerusalem after 14 years. You can almost see that movie title card flashing on the screen, right? 14 years later. This is a big deal. It's not some casual trip. Paul, with his crew Barnabas and Titus, is heading back to the main hub for a mission that could literally change everything.
Now, verse 2. This is not some big public announcement. No, this is more like a secret mission. Paul says he went up by revelation, and he gets his private, closed-door meeting with the big shots in Jerusalem. He's laying it all on the table, his whole message of grace for the Gentiles, because he needs to know if they're on the same page. You could just feel the tension. His entire life's work is hanging in the balance here. All right, verse 3, and here's the first real test. Paul walks into this high-stakes meeting with his buddy Titus, who's a Greek, a non-Jew, and right away the pressure's on for Titus to get circumcised to fit in. But Paul, he's not having it. It's like he draws a line in the sand right there in the middle of the room. This is the hill he's willing to die on. Faith in Christ is enough. Full stop.
And in verse 4, the plot just thickens. You wonder why all the secrecy. Spies, that's why. Paul calls them false brethren, who literally snuck in. They came in by stealth to spy on the freedom they had. Just picture these shadowy figures in the corners of the room, listening in, trying to find a way to trap them and drag them back into bondage under the old rules.
So what's Paul's response to these spies? Verse 5, pure, uncut defiance. He says, "We did not yield submission even for an hour, not for a minute." You can just see him slamming his hand on the table, a no that echoes through the room. There was no way they were going to compromise, not when the truth of the gospel was on the line.
Then we get to verse 6, and Paul makes this incredibly bold statement. He says that even the top dogs, the ones who seemed to be something, well, they added nothing to his message. It's like he's saying their reputation doesn't matter. God shows no favoritism. Think of a set of scales. You've got big titles on one side and the pure gospel on the other. For Paul, the truth of the gospel outweighs everything else, every single time. Verse 7 is a huge turning point. The leaders in Jerusalem, they have this aha moment. They finally see it. They realize that Paul was given this specific mission to the non-Jews, just like Peter was given the mission to the Jews. It's like they're holding two different keys, one for Paul and one for Peter, but both keys unlock doors to the very same kingdom.
Verse 8 just doubles down on this. Paul spells it out. It's the same God with the same power working through both of them. It's like a single source of light from heaven, sending down two powerful, distinct beams, one shining on Peter's path and one on Paul's. Same source, different jobs.
And this leads right into verse 9, the moment of alliance. The big three, James, Peter, and John, give Paul and Barnabas the right hand of fellowship. Now this is way more than just a friendly handshake. This is a treaty being signed. It's a firm, powerful grip that says, we're in this together. You have our official endorsement.
So, in verse 10, they have just one condition, one ask. Just remember the poor. That's it. This shows that their unity wasn't just about ideas. It had to translate into real, practical care for people who were struggling. You can almost see a coin being placed into an open palm. It's that simple, that powerful.
Okay, so just when you think everything's settled and they're all allies, bam, verse 11 hits. The whole scene shifts. We're in a different city, Antioch, and Paul publicly confronts Peter. He says, "I withstood him to his face." Just feel the weight of that. These two titans of the faith, locked in an intense stare down right in front of everybody. That unity they just built, it looks like it's about to shatter.
So what on earth happened? Verse 12 lays it all out. Peter was being a total hypocrite. See, he was totally fine eating with the non-Jewish believers, sharing meals, breaking down barriers. But then a group of hardliners from Jerusalem shows up, and Peter gets scared. He literally withdraws and separates himself. It's like he's at a party, laughing it up with everyone,
And then the cool kids walk in, and he suddenly drops his plate and backs away into a corner. It's pure fear.
And this kind of thing, it spreads like wildfire. Verse 13 says this hypocrisy was contagious. Peter's actions started a chain reaction. First, the other Jewish believers followed his lead. And then, and this must have really stung Paul, even his close friend Barnabas got swept away by it all. It's a perfect picture of a domino effect. One person's fear just toppled the entire line.
Well, Paul has seen enough. Verse 14, he is not about to let this slide. He confronts Peter, not in private, but in front of everyone. It's like a spotlight just snaps on and Peter is caught, frozen, and Paul just lays out the glaring contradiction for everyone to hear. You're a Jew, but you live like a non-Jew. So why are you now trying to force non-Jews to live like Jews? It's a devastating public takedown. So that public challenge now launches into this powerful speech from Paul. And in verse 15, he does something really smart. He starts by establishing common ground. He says, we who are Jews by nature. He's essentially saying, look, Peter, you and I, we come from the same background. It's like a boxer extending a glove to touch before delivering the knockout punch. And here it is in verse 16, the absolute core of the entire book, the whole reason for the fight. Paul lays it down crystal clear. A person is made right with God. They're justified, not by keeping a long list of religious rules, but by one thing, faith in Jesus Christ. It's not about what you do, it's about who you trust. This is the truth that was worth a public showdown.
Now, Paul knows what people might be thinking, so in verse 17, he addresses it head-on. He asks this rhetorical question. Okay, so if we're declared righteous through Christ, but we still messed up and sin, does that mean Jesus is somehow okay with sin? And his answer is a thunderous, certainly not. No way! It's like trying to blame the sun for the shadows. It just doesn't work.
He keeps going in verse 18. He says that going back to the old system of rule following would be like rebuilding a prison he just escaped from. I mean, can you imagine? You smash through a brick wall to freedom, you're out in the open air, and then you turn right around and start painstakingly putting the bricks back up again? It makes absolutely no sense.
Verse 19 has this beautiful, mind-bending paradox. Paul says, through the law, I died to the law. What does that even mean? Well, the law, the rules, they were like a mirror. They showed him he could never be perfect. And that realization killed any hope he had of saving himself. But that death to the old way was the only way he could actually start living a new life for God. It's the perfect image of a butterfly breaking out of its old cocoon. The old life is left behind for something completely new.
And that leads us to verse 20, the absolute emotional and theological climax of this whole chapter. This is one of the most powerful statements ever written. I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. His old identity, the rule-following Paul, is gone, dead. His new life, his very breath, is powered by Christ living in him. It's a complete transformation, like a silhouette merging with a brilliant, blinding light until they become one.
Finally, verse 21, Paul lands his final, devastating point, and he does it with a question that just hangs in the air, a question that forces everyone to choose a side. If righteousness could be gained through the law, then Christ died for nothing. Just let that sink in. If we could earn our way to God by being good enough, then the cross was pointless. And that single question right there is the ultimate mic drop. It's the final defense of a gospel of grace, a gospel that, as this whole chapter shows, was absolutely worth fighting for.